so it's 7 o'clock. We're going to start our meeting. We have people. Does anybody want to make a motion to suspend the meeting until somebody can speak first? Ken will. All right. So we're open. Someone wants to speak?
I think I'm on the agenda.
Go ahead. Who are you?
Yeah.
Name and address?
My name is Kat Lammy. My address is 47 Pond Meadow Drive. I just want to start by thanking you all for your service and thanking you for all the amazing pickleball courts we have in town. I'm not a pro or looking to get on the pro circuit, but just have a lot of fun playing with my girlfriends. And I wanted to ask for the new courts that are opening at Island Brook. I'd like to make a request that those would be for resident use only. I'm glad that we have the 6 courts down at Unity and people can play from out of town. I have a couple friends from out of town that I play with down there. But I think it would be really great just to have 6 set aside for Trumbull residents only. And I was also thinking that it might be useful that we had some sort of like a pickleball association in town, maybe of a lot of the people that are playing on a super regular basis, where they could reserve space for tournaments, clinics, lessons, and things like that, and do that like formally through the town. And then we could have some kind of a town calendar that is online, because right now you can call and make reservations through the town. You can use the town reservation system. I think it's MyRec, but it doesn't always work, so you have to call and make the reservations. And then there's a group that's operating the Team Reach pages, and so there's just some confusion, I think, with the current reservation systems and then town residents that are creating schedules. So I just wanted to mention those 2 things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janet Barker, 57 Rollingwood Drive, Trumbull. I'm actually speaking on behalf of JP Favretto, who couldn't be here this evening. And again, I'd like to copy Kat's remarks and thanking you for your service and thanking you for the wonderful pickleball courts that we have here in town. I haven't actually been over to Island Brook, so I can't comment on those courts. I play primarily at Unity Park. And one of the things that JP wanted me to address this evening are the windscreens that we've requested, that we are willing to pay for ourselves. I understand the town is willing to install them if we do acquire them. And one of the things that he wished to ask about was whether or not the town would be willing to allow us to have sponsorships printed on the windscreens facing into the courts. We can go out and get the sponsorships, and that would help us to defray the cost of the windscreens. And we know that the ball fields have got sponsorship signs up that do face the
Field.
The field, yeah. And we were wondering about that. The other thing that we were wondering about were the sticker issues at Island Brook Park, if that is going to be a thing for residents, and is Island Brook Park going to be like Unity? Is it going to require reservations? Are reservations going to be available for Island Brook Park? Do you have an answer for that?
Not at this moment. We're going to discuss it in our meeting.
That's going to be under discussion?
We're going to discuss what your request is this evening.
Okay. The other thing I'd like to comment on is something that Kat said. The Team Reach app that she mentioned is just being handled in-house and is not tied in at all to the town. We just handle that ourselves. And I don't think there should be any... the reservations that show up on the Team Reach are reservations that are made by the Trumbull residents, and then they are posted on the Team Reach app. And for the Unity Park ones, I actually am the one who, the residents who make the reservations, they contact me and I post them on the Team Reach app so that our players know that there is an open play reservation that is permitted for our players who are members of our Team Reach group, and they know that there is an open play court that has been reserved for our players on that particular day at that particular time. So that's how that works. Okay? That's it. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, do let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions? Oh, wait.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Jacobson. I live in 17 Cerny Circle. And how are you? Thank you for your service. We're going to address basically the 4 issues that were just mentioned about the pickleball. If I start with the windscreens, we really think these windscreens are necessary. I know that they've been brought to you before, and there's been precedent setting on having a logo. So we would hope you would go forward with that, as you've already agreed on it on the baseball field. The second piece is on the association. If you look at the model in Milford has a pickleball, so they have pickleball and they have pickleball association, in which there's a nominal fee paid. And they have, let me get the days right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 8 to 12 that certain courts are applicable for anybody who's part of that pickleball association. Otherwise, the courts are open. So I think with the courts that look beautiful over at Island Brook, you could do some kind of different pieces at one than the other and kind of make everybody happy. I do think on the issue of having non-residents use the courts, I think that's going to be pretty hard to police. Okay, so if I'm a resident and I bring somebody, I go in somebody's car who doesn't have a sticker, but I'm a resident, you know, how are you actually going to know all that? I think it's a good concept, but I don't think you can really police it, and that's my fare on that. So those are my issues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question.
All right.
Question?
Nancy, go ahead.
Are the pickleball courts in Milford open to people outside of Milford?
Absolutely.
But on the courts there, it says no parking unless you're a Milford resident, right?
So if you go into Eisenhower Park, let's just talk about Eisenhower, that's the one with the lights.
Yeah.
Up top are the tennis courts, on the bottom are the pickleball courts, and anybody can park there at all on the bottom, whether you're a Milford resident or not.
Near the pickleball courts.
Near the pickleball, on the bottom on the pickleball courts, yes. So you go all the way through, you go past the tennis courts, you go past the playground, and you kind of go around, and you can park there.
Because it seems to me I've been there and I've just seen no, Milford parking stickers or something only. That's not true.
I can tell you who parks there. I don't have a comment on the stickers. I mean, if it's required, they're not policing it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you.
So I own property in Milford and I get a Milford sticker, which allows me parking in parking lots. And there are patrol people that watch that to make sure that you have a sticker when you enter the park. I was just at Walnut Beach Saturday, and just as an example, you could not get in unless you had a permit sticker on your car.
Can I comment back on that? So
Yeah.
Walnut's very different. Walnut's the one where they had all the mayhem happen over Memorial Day weekend.
This is prior to Walnut,
Okay.
with that incident. This is ongoing. This has been the case at Walnut or Silver Sands for as long as they've managed that beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What they did is they raised the out-of-town visitor fee because of what happened at Walnut Beach. But the sticker program was always intact.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so we'll close the comment section of the meeting and we'll return to our regular meeting. Can I get anybody to discuss our minutes from last meeting? Any deletions, additions? All right, can somebody make a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Nancy?
Mike, do we need to close public comment? Yeah.
We did.
Sorry.
We're close.
Excellent.
All right, minutes are accepted.
Do we have a second?
We didn't get a second or a vote.
I'm abstaining.
All right,
I was not here.
okay. There was no correspondence, was there?
Only
From
the,
the pickleball, JP Ferretto about the signage on the pickleball courts.
Pickleball.
we need a second for accepting
Oh.
minutes.
Brian,
Right.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, so there's just a pickleball?
Yeah.
I think so.
All right, so we'll discuss that anyway. All right. Old business. Anything old anybody wants to bring up? I don't really have anything, do you? No? New business? I guess that we can talk
Well,
about.
there was someone last month came in and I remember, I forget exactly who it was, and I said, if it's that important to you, come in next month and we'll talk about it. I'm clearly not here. I forget exactly what it was, but
It was a volleyball.
Oh, yeah, the volleyball.
They were looking for a schedule.
schedule, that's what it was.
So,
Yep,
did anything happen with that? No.
nope. Did I talk to you?
No, but it's fresh in my head that it's something that we have committed to doing. We just haven't been able to put the resources at it.
I think the way Kevin kind of left it with them was like, in the off season, we can address it for the next season because they came in the middle of their season, so.
Okay.
We will find a window and
Yeah.
we're going to do it.
That just makes sense.
Like April next year or something.
It could be tomorrow. It's just,
I mean,
I'll
have it up and.
of course.
So
Yeah.
I know you weren't here, but so Kevin, our chair said there may be something we can do this year to do something on that court if time frees up. But they want another court. They want to do some bigger things. So he said, come back in the winter, have a conversation so that you can plan
For the next
for
season.
spring and summer of
Yeah.
next year, and they seemed amenable to that.
And just, to the commission, building more courts would really cross into almost a capital project. It's not, maintaining and caring for what we already have. So just dealing with the finances of it, if it's something that the commission wants us to pursue, I would certainly build it into our capital requests or budgetary requests. But I certainly know there isn't, cash of funds that we could apply to building another court for them.
No, well, they just wanted that court kind of cleaned up, didn't they?
Yes.
Well,
that was part of it.
The
yeah.
two of them, if I understood it correctly from the original request, that they wanted the two upgraded, which was fine, that there would be some type of netting, fencing, whatever along the water's edge, and they actually were asking for a third.
Oh.
That was their original
Are
request.
both playable? Are both of those courts playable right now?
Yes.
But
they're not
they
ideal.
primarily use one, right? Sounded like.
That I can't actually say. They're walk-on, but we don't permit them, so I can't track the actual activity down there.
Has anybody seen these courts anytime, recently?
The courts or them playing on the courts?
Well, either one.
Well, I've not ever seen them playing on the courts, but I certainly
I
played the courts.
just want to say, I don't want to see it, if anybody gets hurt on those courts.
no. It's not that.
If it's that bad.
No, there's no longer weeds, and they're dimensioned out, but they certainly could benefit from additional sand.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. That was mentioned. Hard packed dirt needs sand.
Yeah, they want more sand.
You want more sand.
Yeah.
Correct. It'd be a much more pleasant playing experience, and it's really not that big of a deal for us to do. It's just finding the time to do it.
Yeah, because that would be a problem. I would think.
Anything else on volleyball or? No? All right. We'll move on to new/old business of pickleball court, or pickleball itself. Do you want to talk about the windscreens first?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What about them? Everybody thought there's signs on them?
It seems to me that there's some misunderstanding about whether the Parks Department is going to install windscreen if they're purchased. You were not keen on doing that, it sounded to me 2 meetings ago. Is that right? far as, the manpower required to put them up, take them down, store them.
So that's all true. If this is a request and a requirement by the commission, we'll figure out a way to put them up. Are we looking for additional work and responsibilities that have a set schedule? No, absolutely not. Everything else that we add to it is a little more, it puts us a little bit further behind. And if we're going to do it at the Unity courts, then wouldn't it be just as reasonable to assume that we're going to end up doing it at the Island Brook courts and, on down the line? I understand that it improves the overall playability of the game for the participants. The question is are there any limits to this, and is this just another creep scope type endeavor? On the other hand, is it something that if there was an organization, and those are some of the things that we're talking about inside the recreation side of the department right now, to seeing if we can foster something along those lines. So along the same fashion as there's in-kind services from Little League or AYSO or whatever, there's a lot of interest and a lot of participants in pickleball, and perhaps there's a way to get a little bit of additional services in caring for the courts by the participants themselves, as well as finding ways of fundraising to make specific improvements that makes the game a little bit better without putting the additional burden on the department or the town. So I circle back. If you say, Dimitri, you're going to do this, then Dimitri will say, sir, yes, sir. If you're asking me if that is the best use of my time, I'm going to say, not necessarily.
Excuse me, could I interrupt for 1 second and make a correction?
Sure, go ahead.
The windscreens, once they're up, Dimitri, they stay up. They don't get taken down.
I would have to differ with you.
We see this at Fairfield, we see this at Fairfield at Tunx's Hill. Those windscreens were put up when the courts were done. However many years ago it was. They have stayed up. They have never been taken down.
That may very well be. Our experience with any kind of a sail-like fabric or material on a chain link fence, especially during the winter months or during hurricane season, actually acts as a force that can actually do damage. Historically, we've had screens up at the high school forever, and they go up in the spring and they come down at the end of the traditional season, just to help manage and maintain the integrity of the fencing around it. So that's just a practice.
I just wanted to let you know that at Tunx's Hill they have been there in perpetuity since the courts were done, and everything's been fine. The fencing is intact, the screens are intact, the cords that fasten them may occasionally need to be replaced, but that's it. So as far as extra maintenance for manpower, I would say that they could stay up. Thank you.
So it seems somewhat beneficial if there was some sort of organization in place to manage these screens coming up and down and manage the app. So how does that happen?
Well, as with everything, the increase in activity around pickleball is all relatively new and nascent in Trumbull. And it sort of happened at a time when we've all been kind of caught flat-footed. I'm going to be singing that song probably for another couple of years until we can get out from all things COVID and all things putting us behind. But quite frankly, it's helping create a group, just like as a softball league. It may be something that's completely constructed inherently through recreation, and everybody participates through that. And, it would be a structure along those lines. But pickleball came in raring to go, and that's a great thing. And we certainly appreciate seeing all the additional activity, but it's not given us enough time to reach out and structure something so that all of the minor concerns and complaints and the operational issues that we want to work through have been able to be addressed yet. But that's our goal. That's our goal as we're moving into the new year, especially as we're going into Island Brook. I think we can talk a little bit more about it, but Island Brook, internally, we believe that it needs to run somewhat differently than what we currently have at Unity. Unity has a lot of exceptions built into the property itself. Island Brook, not necessarily so we might recommend or consider just doing no permitting, and it's just a walk-on, so there would be less, and I'm not saying this is what we're going to do, but these are the type of considerations. It isn't an absolute guarantee that somebody has a something at a such and such a time, thereby giving more opportunities for just residents to show up and walk out into the courts and use them somewhat differently. Not sure that's the direction we're going to recommend, but it's certainly a consideration that we look at Island Brook somewhat differently than the way Unity has been managed.
So it kind of sounds like this is a winter issue. This is going to be a learning curve for everybody with the rec department, with them, with you guys. And as the year goes on, I guess something will come in place where we can figure out some sort of scheduling, some sort of organizational thing, and somebody to take care of the windscreens.
That's our goal, and where we're heading. So we're certainly putting a little brain power to it. We're looking at different models everywhere and seeing how well it dovetails into the system we have. But we think we have some options.
Could I just ask a question?
Sure.
So the wind screens that come down on the ball fields, do you guys take them down?
Actually, no. The Little League organization or the Babe Ruth organization or whomever it is, they actually pay to have those put up and taken down every year.
Didn't Eddie Ritaco, he knew more about the pricing of and all the windscreens, didn't he? Didn't he know a little more about that?
In terms of pricing, yeah, he had.
So I thought he knew a little bit more about that, but unfortunately he's not here.
The pricing of the material itself, he's been very helpful in directing. For Brett.
Sorry, my mic's not working right now. But another guy who we work with, he knew a little bit more about probably to get windscreens up, but he's not here. Sorry.
Dee, can I ask a question about the courts at Island Brook, the pickleball courts? Are they going to have a fence between the two sets of three, like they do down at Unity?
And I believe so.
The photo that came, they look beautiful, but there was no fence, in between the two sets.
All of the fencing isn't
There's a
complete.
fence.
Okay.
I can answer
Did that piece go
Oh,
up?
good.
There is a fence there, but it's not high enough.
But at least the server on one court wouldn't necessarily be bumping
Yeah,
into.
but it's only about as high as my shoulder. So if they're sending balls at that height, they're going to go straight over the fence. The separating fence at Unity is taller than you now.
Yeah, it's probably
7 foot, 7 or 8
Yeah,
foot,
approximately.
7 or 8 feet. The one at Island Brook, a photo went round today, and one of the female players who's about my height, it's only up to her shoulder.
So, from the scheduling, so just to close out scheduling, so if we're gonna do scheduling, it has to be done by the rec department. We're not gonna allow folks outside the rec department to schedule games on those pickleball courts, right? So it's like softball or any of the other kind of tier 1, right, field use, and we'll allow Dee's team from now until spring to kind of figure that out because it was dumped upon them, right? Does that sound fair?
Dump's a good word.
Yeah. And then as far as the windscreens, I think we got to talk more about it. I think the sponsorship logos on it are, I think saying that there's a precedent set is an overreach. I think Trumbull Little League has been in town for 30 odd years. They've given tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to the park. And this isn't an organization at this point. There's no pickleball organization that's running this and would qualify as a tier 1, which baseball is. So I think if we do that, that's more of a precedent setter that the volleyball folks can start putting logos in our parks. There's the Frisbee League. and on and on and on. So I think we need to be sensitive to that with the windscreens if we decide to put them up.
Now, Little League's been in Trumbull at least 60 years, I'd say.
Right. I mean, Trumbull, if I'm not mistaken, Trumbull United came with the same request, and we denied it.
And they're an organization.
And they're an organization that's been in town for years. I don't know how many exactly, but at least 10. And that was a no for Indian Ledge. We did talk about a potential sign that sponsors could put, but that didn't go anywhere. So I think we just need to be careful on that.
Just for the audience, a Tier 1 organization is Trumbull residents only. Kids that play Little League have to be Trumbull residents in order for them to get certain privileges of field use. So it is a different situation.
And the only other thing, just if I could, so the Trumbull residents only on the pickleball courts, I'm not sure how that would be enforced. We don't do that on like basketball courts, right? You gotta, so to Ken's point, if you buy a Trumbull sticker, you're allowed to use the parks and whatever's in the parks. So to tell them you bought a sticker, but you're from Fairfield, you can't play pickleball. The only way to do that would be to do like we do with a Tier 1 league. If there's a pickleball league, then we could require a Trumbull residents only league. But if it's a non-schedule or you have a sticker, you have the right to use the pickleball courts.
And then again, there is no league.
Today, correct.
Correct.
So if I'm a non-Trumbull resident, which I'm not, can I buy a sticker?
Yeah,
And how much is that?
112.
So if the out-of-town people wanted to play,
Yep.
they could
$112 and they could play all day long.
Okay.
But if it's a Tier 1 league,
It would change.
that's not true. So
Tier 1. So
yeah.
you've got to deem something a Tier 1. So if you deem,
You have to qualify for a Tier 1. So if you have so we have a field use policy that's online, it's on the Park and Rec site.
Yeah.
If you want to create a league in the town of Trumbull, you have to be not-for-profit. You have to fill out lots of fun paperwork, insurance, and all kinds of fun things. Submit it to Dee's team, and they will qualify you as a tier level. And the different tier levels have different stipulations for residency requirements as well as cost. So if you had, for instance, a 100% Trumbull resident pickleball league, people who buy stickers from Fairfield would not be allowed to participate in that league. However, if they're not participating in that league and they want to go to an open court because they have the sticker, they can go, just like they can use the jungle gyms or the basketball courts or whatever it is. So you have to qualify for the league, which I would guess there's the potential goal that if there were a league in town, it would go through Dee's office, it would be qualified, and then it could be scheduled through and everything would be kind of on the record.
So those are two of a myriad of different structures that we're looking at. We could create the league. It could be the Parks and Rec Department's league. We can even put in percentages of resident versus non-resident because we've done that as well. We only allow 10%, 15% non-resident. That's infinitely discussable and addressable. But these are the type of things we're trying to figure out so that we can make this easier for everyone. If everybody wanted to buy a sticker, yeah, that's great. If everybody wanted to, but the sticker doesn't necessarily guarantee you a permitted time. And sometimes then we want that additional piece, so you need that additional structure. And so which is the best route to go? We don't know yet. So we're sort of drafting all of these different iterations. We're talking to Mr. Favretto and a lot of different people to see like which direction is going to work and what's going to work best in each location.
The plus is that the mountain has been conquered because the courts are there. So
the courts are great.
that's the hard part. Not that this isn't difficult, but this you can figure out.
So I drove by the courts
are not.
I went by the courts and I came back. Most of those courts are full.
I believe it. I believe it.
So there's absolutely use, and I know the structure will come.
It'll happen. It'll happen in the coming months. It's just too much, too fast for us to come up with something to vet and make sure that we're getting the proper input from all of the participants. We don't want to create something that's not consistent with what people really associate with this, but at the same time is consistent with our policies, field use policies, the commission's wishes about, what is resident versus non-resident, and giving opportunities to people that aren't necessarily a part of the league. So, it's a work in progress, but we are doing it.
No, I think as long as you guys look at how do we make this inclusive.
Absolutely. Well, but that's the nature of pickleball.
Okay.
It might as well be more important than the paddle and the ball is getting people together on those courts.
Right.
So we know it.
Okay, good.
Anything else on pickleball?
You want us to keep going, we can keep going.
All right, I think we've kind of exhausted that point for this evening. There's no other new business, right? There's nothing else we got? No. Superintendent's report.
You have my
Yeah.
my quickie zippy. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you guys. And women very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Ready?
Fire away, brother.
Why are you working on the HVAC system in Town Hall? And why are you working on file storage in Town Hall?
Because you don't know what I do for a living, do you? And that is why I put it there. The truth of the matter is the Parks and Recreation Department is much more involved in a great many things beyond what this commission has oversight of. I take care of the HVAC in this building. It is a nightmarish proposition. We take care of all of the buildings in town. We've become a merged department in a great many ways. I have to manage endless amounts of reporting for our tree warden and our roadside tree service, and those are things that the commission proper really doesn't have any oversight in. A couple of the other things that I've pointed out on a number of occasions is that the commission has like a fence around it, and it's the named parks and the named parks only. But in Indian Ledge, there's 3 different iterations of parkland that we take care of, and 2 of which you have no oversight of. It's open space, or it's rails to trails, and then it's the park. Yet all of them require our services. So I was trying to make a point, because I'm quite often given a laundry list of things to do that you really never imagined it would take up our time. So why can't you just go out and get that grass cut, Dimitri? Well, because the triage aspect of the chief of police's exhaust fan is going to take priority over the a pickleball net or something to that nature. So, as time goes on, when we talk about our budgets, when we talk about the actual scope of work, I'd like the commission to keep in mind that we're more than what you might think. So I hope that answered that question. But that was intentional, so good catch.
Is that typical of other towns?
There is no. The truth is that there is no normal. There are departments in many communities that are rigid. I can point to the golf course as a perfect example. The golf course takes care of the golf course. They don't do anything else. But the Parks Department will deal with pools and trash and grass and buildings, and then it just keeps expanding. Trumbull found itself many years ago that there were, avocations and opportunities and synergies, I love that word, within our department that overlapped in a great many others. And so, well, they know how to fix that. Have them go do that. Until, certain other departments literally disappeared. The town of Trumbull no longer has an actual building maintenance department. It has it in theory, but I manage that, and our personnel are that. So we'll be painting rooms, we'll be changing lights, we will work with or without plumbers and electricians and every contracted services known to man all the time. You've seen us up there, right? It's like, Dimitri, can you fill in the blank? Well, it's us. It's Parks and Rec, but Parks and Rec actually has this sub-layer, which is all of these other duties. I think you either don't know it, but sometimes kind of need to be reminded that we're a little bit more than that. So it's not normal, but there is no such thing. Some are very strict, some are very loose.
You know, I told my wife I don't know how to do the wash, and I haven't had to do the wash in many years. So,
Huzzah! Bravo!
so that's just a little advice.
Can I put that in the minutes?
Oh, you want him to not be able to do so many things?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there any, sorry, uneducated viewpoint,
No?
but is there a way to roll that back? I mean, if it's getting in the way of the Parks and Rec department, like, responsibilities, is there a way to look at and say, hey, listen, there's a,
That's a great
I mean,
question.
the commission has a concern that you're doing things outside the
And then the
scope.
HVAC, does that come out of our budget too?
Some of it does, because the budgets,
So-
but it's not your budget,
Oh, okay.
because they've taken the budgets and done this with them. You know, I might have probably as much building maintenance resources than I actually, and it's just in our control. Where, you know, it's not necessarily just the funding piece of it. It always falls apart around the manpower side of it. If we were just outsourcing, I just become the central scrutinizer and, you know, switchboard operator and direct everybody to do whatever they have to do. And very often that is what I'm doing. But it's not unlimited in the resource. The only way to answer your question, to roll that back, is to rebuild the building maintenance department and then separate them again at some point or another. Quite frankly, I can only guess that will only likely happen when I walk out the door for the last time, because there'll be no motivation for them to do so. And that's just the simple fact of it all. Now, I will say that though it wasn't my original intent, you know, that I've been trying to pursue an assistant for quite some time. Matthew D'Amico just started this week. It's his first week on the job. But the great scheme was to get somebody in who actually had building maintenance skills. We got none. Zero. And so the hope was this person would, you know, slowly but surely start to develop real understanding of the operation, building-wise, and then, you know, shift over a couple of guys, and maybe we can make a pointed pitch to get a little more resource in the budgetary process until, well, we've built two departments, even if it's under one. That didn't work out. So what I ended up getting was someone who is another version of Dimitri circa mid-1980s. Very strong horticultural skills and very motivated, and he's great. And I think he will do a fantastic job. I have absolute faith in this guy. But that means I have to shoulder taking care of this because I can't go back into the park. You know, two of us out there don't really make sense. It doesn't mean I'm not going to have my hand in it, but if I'm going to get any kind of relief from anything, I have to allow him the opportunity to do what he's good at. And so I'm going to take care of faltering buildings until my dying day, I'm afraid. But the concept is still sort of there. I'm going to try to get some more bodies in, put a couple in my hand, put a couple more in Matthew's hands, and you know, at some point or another, Matthew can take the department hook, line, and petunias and go that way, and the vacancy that I'll leave will demand that somebody else with real building maintenance skills equal to or greater than mine take over this other piece of it, and we'll see where the town is at that time.
So it's important he says he doesn't know how to do the wash then.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
And he does it.
Okay.
so two follow-ups.
Yeah.
One, can Matthew come here and meet us?
No, I'm not gonna taint him with this commission. What are you crazy?
It'd be great to say hello in person. if he's available at some point.
Of course.
And is there a benefit to you having that building maintenance part? Is it providing, you know, is the sharing of funding advantageous at times? Maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe 2 years ago, or is it simply we merge budgets and your staff are doing the job of 2 staffs with a single merged budget?
Can I follow up on that? Isn't your time more valuable doing other things than doing labor things like that? Your knowledge doing other things, I think, is more valuable to the town than doing repairs like this. That was my follow-up.
The cost-benefit analysis of anything getting done has a net worth, and I don't know what that is, to be perfectly honest with you. If this place is 85 degrees and the government isn't working, it has a decided impact. Does it have any shared opportunities? Yeah, of course it does. That's because we started off with at least pieces of building maintenance. You know yourself how many things we've built over the years, and that's how we ended up getting larger and larger pieces there, because we showed that we had some degree of engineering concepts, building concepts, and all of these other disciplines, because we were already taking care of bathrooms, we were already taking care of pavilions, we were already taking care of pools and all of their pumps. So there was a lot of things that are very, very similar. You know, it's a bathroom here, it's a bathroom at Unity Park. And, you know, plumbing and wet walls and fixtures and all of that kind of stuff. You learn all of those things. And it's been that way for Trumbull Park's department, even when there was a maintenance division. We were doing that. So there was kind of an overlap, a redundancy, more or less. In other towns, it's like, hello, maintenance, my toilet's clogged. In Trumbull, it's like, yeah, so go fix it, stupid. And that's the reality. So Trumbull was always, making the most of their employees for all the years that I've been here.
The school board, their repair guys are just for them?
Yes.
Okay.
So, again, to Brian's point, I mean, where would the assistance be for you with other departments, let's say like the highway department or the public works department? I would imagine that there are people that are capable within those departments as well that could help with some of these other issues that are coming up within the community outside of parks. It just seems like if we don't have maintenance, if you have highway and you have public works, I mean, there are people within those divisions or those organizations that probably have mechanical skills. And my second point is, if that's not going to be the case, where you would pull from these other departments, why are we not asking for more money with your department?
So
you would think that's more important than some of the other things. But
So he's not able to take care of.
I know.
We just heard about volleyball.
Right.
We just heard about pickleball.
Right.
I mean,
This
these
is
are
more
recreation
Right.
organizations. These are residents that are coming and asking for these facilities within the park system.
Right.
Dimitri is telling us, with good reason, that he's taxed in
I
doing
understand that.
sand on the volleyball court, putting up screens on the pickleball courts,
Yeah.
because he's taking care of HVAC at town hall.
Yeah, it's
That
true.
doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's true. So
it's the same thing, though. You can look at trying to determine what the core responsibilities, whatever that actually may be, of Parks and Rec. So right now, go to Island Brook and you'll see our crews. Well, we're landscaping. We're doing more than just landscaping those new courts in there. We're building new drainage systems, new head walls. It's all, it's.
Right, but that benefits the parks department.
It does, but think of the physical work of it. It's not cutting the grass. This has to be done, and I can tell you why, because it couldn't be budgeted into the completion of this larger project. Very often, that's what happens. We're nursing a massive landscape planting over at the police department. It could not have been done at a worse time of year. It has not been anything but an exhausting effort just to keep tens of thousands of dollars worth of plant material alive. And it's like, here you go. Here's an infant, and by the way, we're going to put him in a sweat box and then see whether or not it's going to be okay at the back end of it. And by the way, you're responsible. But every day, somebody has got to go and do this work. We don't have the limit and the luxury of saying this is where the limit is. Highway very often does. So you were asking whether or not DPW highway, and that's really I'm DPW. We're DPW Parks and Rec, they're DPW highway. They have structured projects, and they're like modules. This is what they're doing, and now they're putting every resource they have. They usually have a small buffer built into those projects, so if they lose a couple of guys, they're still able to perform the job. That is absolutely not the case for parks. So one of the most simplistic things, we'll call them the dial tone services during the year. So is make sure the bathrooms are operationally clean and sanitary. Goes without saying. The pools, well, and operating the pools at any given time can be astronomical. And then probably the next on that laundry list is cutting the grass. You could probably add more to it, but that's just the most basic, fundamental stuff in parks. I can tell you that it probably takes closer to 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks of all of our personnel to perform all of those functions and get the grass cut. Which means by the time you get through a cycle, the grass is this high somewhere, and
That's the point.
It's exactly the
This is
point.
going to be another, it could be a stupid question, but who is your personnel? Could you be paying more?
No, it's numbers. And,
Because we have 8 people on the commission here.
but it's numbers. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, again.
Who is the personnel?
I don't understand the question though.
Who else works with you or for you is what I'm saying.
Well, it's the Parks Department maintenance staff. There's a
They don't
total of
call themselves anybody, is what you're saying.
they're just, there are 12 people with different skill sets, and different job titles that perform different functions, all of these functions that I'm describing, whether it be cutting grass or otherwise. At any given time, if I lose, and this week I'm down 3 people because of that word. They're the COVID word. They're gone. They're gone for 5 days.
Yeah.
You take 3 people out of a regular operation, you've severely impacted what our end result is going to be. Add into that a Trumbull day, moving voting machines, those are all assignments that come our way that we have to.
Leaves.
Oh, sure, leaves, at least I'm in the parks, but you get pushed into those things. So at any given time, our ability to apply, all of our focus on what many people think of as our core responsibilities can't happen, doesn't happen, and hasn't happened in a very, very long time. And I'm not trying to come up with various excuses. It's just the only way out of it is
reality.
Well, it is reality, but it's twofold. I know the town is loath to bring more bodies on board because it's very expensive. Every additional person that you hire, it's a benefit package, it's a retirement package. It's the law of diminishing returns. On the other hand, what seems to has been the model in 2022 is everybody's expectations have gone from here to I want everything and more. And we have everything and less. So very often we spend a lot of time explaining and trying to let people know that we do hear you and we're not just dismissing you, but it's going to take a lot longer than maybe you're comfortable waiting. And then the other things have to come first and foremost. I can't, today we had an issue. Did I put in my report the electrical system went?
At the pool?
Yeah, Tashua, did I put it in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that just just grenaded, the whole thing. It was so badly corroded, we couldn't even get power into the fans anymore. Well past its useful life, but now it's literally a fire truck. We're in the middle of full operation. There is no, I'll get into that, in a couple of days. It's like everybody you have taking on a task, including contracted services, to do whatever we can to get that power back up, get the pools back up and running before I get drugged again on social media for, I don't know, we name it.
Wait, so Tasio Pool is closed now?
No, but it was down, and it required a lot of resources to put it back up online, and cost. I mean, it was the whole thing had to get torn right out, and it's working again. We had a failure at the Swinburne Park today. What do you do about that? One of the lifeguard stands over at beaches, something happened with one of the umbrellas. It caught the wind, it corkscrewed out, and destroyed a portion of the lifeguard stand. Can't not have the lifeguard stand. You've got to have people going in 100 different directions, either trying to find the parts and put it back together again. But that means they're not watering trees. That means they're not cutting grass. It means this has now become our top priority. We don't have that luxury of so much personnel that we can just apply at any given time and get it all done. Something very often doesn't get done, and it will take us a while to circle back until we can get it back under control. That's just the way that we work. Trying, but and we'll continue to ask for, for more resources and more help. But I'm realistic because nobody else is getting them either.
So one could argue it seems appropriate for the commission to ask if you guys are doing work outside of a park.
Mm-hmm.
Does that take priority over park work?
It's hard to say. It is hard to say because we are by definition more than just parks. You certainly get my attention more than anything else. The convention, the traditional structured park system is first in my mind. But boy, it's really close to 1,000 other things that just aren't. What happens when the tree falls across rails to trails? We're picking up litter in the park. No, the litter is not pleasant. The tree over the trail is now a threat to public safety.
Yeah, I understand that, and that, again, it reverts back to what your responsibilities are in parks. So it seems to me, and I'll just end it this way, we need a maintenance department in the town of Trumbull to monitor some of these components on a regular basis, almost like a service program, on your own HVAC system. Somebody checks it once a year. If it needs something, it's taken care of, so you're not dealing with emergencies like you did at Tashua just recently.
It's not quite that simple, but I understand the idea. It's just you have an aging infrastructure, so you're in damage control. We have numbers on this building that come close to $2 million to get this place running effectively and efficiently. There's not $2 million to put into this building, which means you're all little Dutch boys sticking your finger in a hole on a regular basis. And we are those people. So I'm not belaboring the point, and I'm not unhappy with our assignments. What I am trying to pass along to the commission is very often some of the things that I think you want of me. I'm not even trying to attempt insubordination. There's just no way that I could do it and prioritize it fairly in the scope of all the other things that.
I don't think that the commission thinks that at all.
I know, and I don't want you to.
Yeah, I think what we've decided and what we understand is that you don't have enough time to take care of what you probably need to do.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for the superintendent? All right. The ranger report. I got a question. I'm going to ask Ken. They issued 106 parking violations.
I'm glad we brought this up.
What's that?
We've had this conversation before.
And what did we find out exactly was the end result?
We found out that the Rangers issue the violation. Evidently, the funding goes to the police department. And from there, there's a question of how that money is dispersed. It doesn't go to the police department. I guess it goes into the general fund. Maybe somebody else can answer that question. But the point that we made months ago was if the Rangers are being paid to manage the parks and issue the permits, the violations, and there's a revenue source from there, why isn't that money going back into our department? And how much is it?
And how much is it? So we don't have any answers, and there's...
We didn't get an answer before. So, all I know is I think there was like $68,000 at one point that went into the fund. And I thought, well, that's another salary for a park ranger. I don't know.
Or to get somebody back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks.
I will tell you this, I'll follow up on that for the next meeting, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I also have a question on the ranger report. So it's pretty vague. What is the damage to park property that Steve is referring to? And does that come out, the repairs, does that come out of our budget as well?
Always.
Yeah.
Damage
And what would that number be? I mean, I think that's also something that we need to discuss in terms of your budget and the revenue that maybe we could obtain from
Well,
with the rangers that are issuing.
I would be thrilled to have a special agency account that we could utilize from some of our parking tickets, but I don't know what the limiter is on that. Anytime that somebody breaks anything in the park system, you know, it comes completely out of our Parks and Rec budget, 100%.
I understand that, but I mean, you just talked about an electrical issue at Tashill. I mean, was that caused by damage by somebody?
No.
Because we've had issues before where you've had to go in and take care of major damage because of vandalism.
I will say, I'm going to do knock wood, I don't want to jinx this, and currently that level of damage is very low. Our methods of managing the restrooms and the facilities, I mean, it takes a little extra work, but you know, I think we lost one fixture all year. That's amazing, where somebody just smashed it or whatever. And that was at Twin Brooks, as a matter of fact. When it happened, I don't know. That would be a banner year. We only had one fixture, and I'm very happy for it. So our operational methods are working, but our system's also very old. So the electrical system that was failing is actually highly corroded because of the chemicals used in the pool. The entire electrical, all of the panels, the contactors, everything are all in the same room, exposed to those corrosive gases of chlorine. It just lived its life. So, you know, maybe that should be a capital project, but you know, if you don't have the money and you're not prepared to do that, then it's an emergency. And if it's an emergency, it comes out of our operational budget.
I guess what I'd like to see in the Rangers report is more specifics as far as the damage in the future. If you could mention that to him.
Sure.
And also, what about injury on park property? What is that?
I don't know what the specifics are in Steve's report. At any given time, maybe we could get this. He has them all written down. He's just not putting every detail in the report to the commission. If you want any of that stuff clarified for the next meeting, I'm sure that he could do that. Somebody could have fallen down, fallen into a hole over a guardrail. It could be anything.
No, I understand that, but I mean, does that constitute a liability with the town?
Sometimes, yes.
So I think we need to know what that might be.
Sure.
In the future.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
How bad is the How about is the increased swimming and littering at Quarry Road? Is it minimal or?
I was there today. And it was unbelievably clean.
So, thank you, and thank the Rangers. The pump station swimming hole is down to almost nothing. The Rangers have been a presence up and down the trail every day, pretty much since the 4th of July. And we can find like groups of 10 and 12 people, but they're walking in. We know where they're coming in from, and we're trying to find a way to stop that. But there are no more cars. There are no more,
Parties?
no. The knife fights, parties, fiestas. Is that
Shaving dishes.
no more chafing dishes. All of that is thankfully come to an end. Our goals right now is to make sure that we don't have a real liability with a drowning. That's the last thing that we want. And yes, we still get a few people every day. We reach out to them. We generally ask them to vacate. We haven't had one hostile interaction. Okay, and they walk out. So.
Great. Anything else? Anyone? No? All right, someone will make a motion to close the meeting. All right, Ken? Everybody? All good? All right.
Adios, folks.